Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros of Tri-City Equity Group. Today, excited, I've got Jim Lee on the show. So Jim's a principal and managing partner with Formosa Investing, where Jim serves as a multifamily investor, of course. He's a multifamily syndicator like we are. He's migrated from Taiwan, and after graduating with an economics degree from UCLA, started his career working for LoopNet, CoStar. For a lot of our commercial investors, you guys know exactly what that is. So I love that background. So we'll definitely talk a little bit about that. But now he creates opportunities for others looking to invest in multifamily assets. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited to have you on. I mean, of course, definitely want to talk about a few different aspects there in your, we briefly went over in your bio. I know you've scaled really quickly, 600 units from what I understand in just a very short period of time, in 2 years. So obviously you've gotten after it, but I kind of want to start from the beginning. I love the background of you not being from here, from the US, and kind of how that plays into your mindset. But start me off from the get-go. You came over from Taiwan. Was your family already investing, let's say, in real estate in Taiwan? Like, how did you get going in real estate?
So I didn't get going in real estate because of my family. I got into real estate because of my first job out of college working at LoopNet. And to kind of go back in time, I immigrated here when I was 11 years old. And I love the mindset that my parents had instilled in me since I was a kid. Because my dad is an entrepreneur. So I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, to give myself the freedom to choose when I decide to work and so forth. Even though my dad works 7 days a week nonstop as an entrepreneur. And so I always liked the idea. And by moving here, I realized that both my parents made the sacrifice to bring us here to give us more opportunities to become entrepreneur, right? Because it's so much easier to do it here than versus in Asia. And so that's one thing I'm very thankful and grateful for my parents. And then to kind of lead on to the real estate side, like I mentioned, I didn't get involved, start learning until I landed a job as an inside sales role working at LoopNet back in 2010. That was right after 2008 subprime mortgage crash, followed by the 2010 European debt crisis. So me coming out of college, I was actually jobless for a year. I got really good at interview, selling myself, that eventually I landed an inside sales role at LoopNet. And eventually I was able to talk to multiple agents, investors, lenders, property managers on a daily basis. And that's how I learned everything about real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then now I know you're doing syndications. Do you feel like that? I mean, it's a few different things we'll talk about there, but do you feel like that initial period of, hey, you know what, being jobless? And again, I was in the business already too during subprime, before subprime and leading up to that. So I definitely know the pain of that one. Do you feel like those skills that you gathered right after that, hey, you know what, you learn how to basically sell yourself, right? Like to sell you as an individual, the skills and the talents that you can bring to the table. Is that something that you feel like, man, wow, this is stuff that I actually know that I could apply today, right? Like a big part of it is, hey, I can feel confident in knowing the business. For one, of course, you obviously become a successful syndicator, but being able to use that period to actually, can you see the roots of that now, right? Like factoring into your current success?
Absolutely. That's a very, very good question to ask, because now fast forward 10 years from then, well, more than 10 years, I'm 35 now. I'm trying to get back into the mindset I had back in those days, because just think about it, being jobless for a year and finally find a job that teaches you the skill set that's going to help you the rest of your life. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to sell yourself. To get into it, you have to sell yourself. No matter what, you're selling yourself. To find a girl, you need to sell yourself, right? Yeah. So this is a skill set that I'm happy and never regret getting started right out of college, even though my mom was against it. She said, if you want to be in sales, you could have done it after graduating from high school. You don't need a college degree. But for me, I took up on any challenge, and I just happened to land an inside sales role, which actually really fits with my personality, because I'm an introvert. I don't like meeting people face to face, and I can stay in the office, make dials all day. And I was able to perfect my craft by being myself. And that's what that's why the job fitted me so well. Now, going back to what I was saying, nowadays, I try to go back to trying to figure out how can I bring that mindset to my current state because I was hungry. After a year of not having a job, I worked my butt off because I never wanted to go back to where that period where I had no job. And my parents just continued to insist that I pursue higher education. It's just
Mm.
coming from an Asian parents' background, Asian culture, high education, PhD, MBA, become a doctor or a lawyer, no exceptions after that. So I was kind of going against my parents' wishes. And so when I found that job, I was really hungry. I worked harder than anybody else. That's why I became this number 2 sales rep out of 100 people, won $50,000 incentive bonus from CoStar. That's because I put in work. I would say I worked 12 to 14 hours a day. And I even took my work back home on weekends to study it, to kind of rehearse what to say to clients. So I took it very serious. And I wanted to bring that mindset to my current state because that was the period I was super motivated, super hungry, super eager to learn.
Yeah. And this is something I've seen too, like a couple of different things there. My wife is Asian, so she came over from Hong Kong and the Philippines. So I definitely get the background and the push for higher education and whatnot. So I kind of have to chuckle on that. But I feel like in the modern climate, it's like everybody wants what they see on Instagram, right? What they see on social media, right? Like you just see all the success. But what you're letting us know, it's like, man, no, it's the 12 to 14 hours days. Like that's the stuff that's actually going to get you to the point where you can achieve some levels of success. And even when you get there, you need to keep going. And that's part of the challenge. I've seen this time and time again now, especially kind of in our current environment. There's such a lack of a desire to want to really work and to push. You're seeing it in multiple jobs, multiple businesses, where it's just like, gosh, we just can't find the help. We can't find the people who want to actually show up and do the work. And I feel like that's a challenge. So if you're willing to hustle, if you're willing to work and be diligent in what you're doing, gosh, the sky's the limit. Especially when you become an entrepreneur, this is always the challenge with entrepreneurs and people who are just trying to seek kind of the traditional route of, okay, hey, we got higher education, went and pursued a degree, then went and got a traditional W-2 and whatnot. It's like, wow, even the best paid W-2s, there's still typically a cap to that. There's still always a ceiling there versus you taking the entrepreneurship route. There's really no ceiling. I like to tell people there's no floor. So you do have to put in the work, but there's also no ceiling. And so like, that's where it's totally up to you as an individual in pursuing that. So, and you've obviously put in the work. So kudos to you. Now you got up to 600 units within a pretty short period of time. Give us a little bit of backstory on those deals. Was this something that, hey, I've learned how to work for CoStar and look for deals on LoopNet and whatnot? Like, were you just scouring LoopNet for deals, or how did you come across all this opportunity?
So absolutely not. It was a bit of a struggle to finally syndicate my first deal. So I was a realtor before I syndicated my deal between 2018 and 2020. I tried to make a career out of it, trying to find my own deals, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. And so I struggled and I realized it's not a good fit for me. And during lockdown in 2020, one of my investors introduced me to a podcast show called Real Estate Guy Radio Show. I started to listen to them, and every show they talk about syndication, doing bigger deals, easier to scale, et cetera, et cetera. At that time, I didn't understand what does that mean. And so I finally educate myself, went out to network for literally a year. I went to about 10 conferences. And that was when I realized, okay, real estate syndication is a path I want to be on. Resonates with me. I want to be able to build wealth, not only for myself, but for my friends, family, and whoever believes in real estate. And that's when I pursue the journey of real estate syndication. And in that 1 year, all I did was network, educate myself, and trying to find the missing pieces of the puzzle. And in 2021 and 2022, that's when I met my business partner at one of the conference. We've known each other for a year until we finally syndicated a deal together outside of California, because it's really tough. It's a tough market to syndicate out here. Plus the eviction moratorium, landlord tenant friendly state, it doesn't help. So we decided to look elsewhere. It was through his track record, through my business partner's track record and experience, that we're able to find a trustworthy lead operator that we're able to syndicate together as a group to take down a project of 200 unit apartment building in Orlando and another 400 unit building in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, awesome. So, I mean, you picked some great markets too, tons of growth. And was this during COVID? I mean, obviously you're taking the time out leading up to that. right? So, and I love your story, your kind of continued story. What I'm picking up too is failure, right? And a lot of times, like people, individuals, we shy away from failure. Nobody likes to admit, hey, look, we're not great at everything. That's actually totally okay. This is a part of the journey, guys. So those of our listeners that are just kind of fearful, wow, I just got to stay to this, right? Because it's comfortable and that's what I know. But listening to Jim's story here, gosh, he had failure, some part not due to his own. Some of it's due to GFC and just kind of market conditions, which again, we don't have any control over, right? But then also too, hey, try his hand being an agent. Hey, you know what? That's not a good fit for me. That's okay. Because what it allows you to do is you're checking off these boxes along the way. Say, you know what? I'm not great at that, but I picked up some skill sets. What could I learn? Let me take this forward. Okay, let's try this. Okay, this is not a good fit for me either. That's okay. I picked up some skill sets. What can I learn? And let's keep pushing the ball further down the field, right? Then you started to network, which I think is for those of you that you guys that are wanting to stay in your own echo chamber and stay surrounded by W-2 employees. And again, I'm not knocking W-2s, but it's very easy to stay surrounded by people who are comfortable doing the same things, right? If you want to grow, if you want to have success, guess what? You're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to go push. You're going to have to go get surrounded by people, and you're not going to be the smartest person in the room. That's okay. In fact, that's actually the best place to be, because then you can learn, you can pick up, okay, hey, I meet these other people in the business who are wanting to get better. You met your business partner. And what I heard there was you had met somebody that you had kind of tracked and stayed in touch with over a period of time that you actually came to form a partnership with. So yeah, I'm loving your story of kind of failure here to actually find the gems, to find the success, because all of these failures lead to opportunity. They lead to getting to the point where you guys are now. So now you guys are operating a couple hundred, well, several hundred doors, sounds like, in Florida. How has that been going? Or are you guys, what I'm dealing with a lot now is like insurance, obviously property taxes, and a lot of those kind of challenges. How are you seeing current market conditions dictate into acquisitions for you guys, operations? How are you guys navigating those waters?
So acquisition, we've kind of slowed down this year. It's more about just working on operation. As you know, in the syndication world, there's $2 trillion worth of commercial debt that's expiring. And with that being said, our loans are being expired. Like we use bridge loan, and basically our deals are upside down, not by much, because our deal is actually performing really well in a really strong market. And if you don't mind, I can give you an example.
Sure.
In Orlando, Florida, it's a very, very strong market, strong growth, population growth, income growth, everything. So we raised the rent from before the project, it was $800, $50 per unit on average, and we bumped it to 1,000. Renovated units are renting for $1,350, so it's about 55% increase. But the problem with the market is that, like you said, insurance has nearly doubled. And now double is good. I've heard some parts of Florida, it's triple, fourth, quadruple, and so forth. But it doesn't help with rising debt costs either. With Fed continuing to raise up the interest rate, it's put our bridge loan at 9%. And we have rate cap. We bought rate cap as well. So yeah, you can
At least you were smart enough to buy the rate cap. Like that's the missing component for a lot of syndicators that didn't do it. And you're still at 9. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're upside down $10,000 a month right now currently, and we're looking at refi options into agency loan, fixed rate debt. But we still have to do a capital call amongst just the general partners instead of putting the pressure on the limited partners, because this is something that we can deal with.
Yeah. So we're kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit here for you guys, for those of our listeners. Like this is the real deal, what you get involved into multifamily syndications. And Jim's being, pretty transparent here with us to let us know, like, this is the reality, right? Now, the awesome thing is you're in a wonderful market, right? So appreciation, and we know that the market conditions, demographics, and all of that are on the side. So no, 100%, you guys are making money, no doubt. Even if you're taking a little bit, some cash flow, some negative cash flow, the value creation on the commercial side with you guys being able to raise rent so substantially and in that market, no doubt, once you go to apply for agency debt and the appraisal, or you decide to sell or whatever, like no doubt you'd be able to walk away with a substantial increase, substantial gain, both for you and your investors. This is the awesome thing about commercial real estate, right? And residential value of the property is not necessarily based on, let's say, sale comps, like most people are familiar with residential houses. Okay. Hey, you know what? I value my house. It's based off of the last 3 that have sold in that immediate area in the last 6 months. Okay. Well, in the case of commercial, Jim's created and his team has created tons of value. Gosh, you guys took rents from 800 to 1,350. You multiply that by how many units? This was 200 units?
200 units, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever percentage of units that they were able to do that on, that multiplier effect is massive, right? Because now he's able to drive marketing to bring up those rents. And it's not just one door, right? And even if it was one door, that's a great increase. That's a huge increase, right? If this is a single family home and you were to take rent from $800 to $1,350 a month, man, kudos to you. But now he's going to multiply that by 200. So how much value is created now by him driving the bottom line number, right? And especially in an amazing market like Florida, even dealing with the challenges of insurance and property taxes and all that kind of stuff, like that's a win, right? So it's just navigating those waters, right? So, and I'm sure you guys have a plan in place and you guys are obviously working through it to make it happen.
Absolutely. Everything you mentioned, economy of scale. That's why I got into multifamily syndication. But yeah, right now, like I mentioned earlier, just manage the operation, cut costs, increase revenue in creative ways, charge people for more for parking with carports, garage, storage, charge people for storage space, install a washing station, pet washing station, car washing station. These are like creative ways that we're thinking to kind of bump up the revenue a little bit. So to kind of help us survive till 2025, because as once we get to 2025, we should be golden.
Yeah, this is kind of a common sentiment for those of you guys that aren't listening, like kind of keeping a pulse on the market. It's a common sentiment in the industry right now. It's like stay alive till 25, right? We're at the very end of 2023 when we're recording this. We know that the Fed, they just had another meeting. They're not raising rates again for now. And I think we'll probably stagnate here for a little bit. And then we'll see what 2024 holds. But whatever we see is not going to be super significant until likely 2025. Yeah. None of this financial advice. Everybody do your own homework. But this is just from two people operating in the space and kind of keeping tabs on what's going on in the market. Now, I will ask you, Jim, kind of throughout all of this, like, gosh, how's the mindset been for you guys, right? Like that you're getting squeezed, right? And you're not alone, right? Like, I mean, we've dealt with it too, especially when you're dealing with bridge debt and increased operating costs, right? With insurance, property tax and all that kind of stuff. How important is mindset for you guys kind of through all of this to be able to navigate capital calls and navigate the bridge debt and dealing with all that? How has the mindset been for you guys and your team kind of dealing with all of that?
Yeah, I would say what I would always recommend to the general partners team is don't panic. Because most of the general partners, we have, I think, 7 of us, and one person has freaked out because he had already lost enormous amount of money from another deal, where he found out that he was in a deal. Basically, the general partner wasn't revealing anything, and they were just keeping everything to themselves. And eventually, he called them out and found out that they were in deep water, and he took over the operation, sold it for 60% of the value. So he lost a good chunk of money for him and his investors. And so he doesn't want to get back to that. He told the team to basically be super transparent, let every single investor know what we're doing, how's the market, and so forth. And it's not that our investors don't know what's going on, because they haven't been getting distribution since we closed the deal last year. And we've been pretty consistent on giving them update. Hey, just based on the market condition, this is where we're at. There's no way that we can make distribution. Just stay with us, So I think it's important in times of chaos to keep your team tighter, because we need to rely on each other. We need to just all hands on deck. That's what I like to tell my team, to look forward, push this deal forward no matter what, because it doesn't make much sense to freak out in tough times. And this is probably the best time to invest. And I know I'm like going off topic now, but
No.
what Warren Buffett says, you have to be greedy when people are fearful, and vice versa, be fearful when people are greedy. So
Yeah, no, I think that's still right on topic because it is, right? Like this is it's a turbulent time. There's a lot going on in the world right now. We just came out of COVID and dealing with all of kind of and what we're really dealing with right now is kind of the fallout from all of that, right? All the money printing, everything that was pumped into the market. There's still a lot of liquidity in the system. So there's still a lot of money out there, and there is opportunity when there is uncertainty, right? So you got a lot of FUD out there, right? A lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt kind of in the marketplace in general. And you're right. Like fortunes are made during this time because the people that are prepared and in a position to be able to identify the opportunity and also to move forward. Like any downturn in the market, there's always opportunity there, right? And so being a savvy investor, that's up to us to be able to help navigate those waters, to see the opportunity kind of in all of the chaos and the turmoil, and to know, okay, yep, no, I see it now. None of this lasts forever either, guys. So if you're in the market and you're being squeezed right now, that's right. You might be the investor as a listener right now you might be the investor that's getting squeezed and dealing with kind of the same stuff. Lower occupancy, higher vacancy. Maybe you just, again, there's a lot of uncertainty in the markets right now. So stick with it, right? Know that there is opportunity kind of through this, and keep an eye out for, hey, how can I improve, for one? And then also two, like, keep an eye out for potential opportunities to arise, because trust me, they're there, you guys. Like, once you start looking for it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Right. So kudos to Jim and the team there for continuing to plow through, push through for not only their GP, but for all the investors. Because it's the nice thing about, we do it as a team. All of the limited partners we're along, everybody's along in any of these deals together. Right. And so, like I said, great thing is you're in an awesome market. And I think long-term, that's definitely going to be a huge win for you guys. Well, this is kind of point of the show here, Jim. We transition to what we call our fire round, a little bit more rapid fire, just kind of short answer questions. Is that something you're up for?
Yep. Let's go for it.
All right, right on. All right, first question. What's the best book that you recommend other than, let's say, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Like that's our real estate Bible. Everybody kind of goes to that book. It was
The
pivotal
Purple
for
Bible.
me too, but yeah. But what's the best book that you recommend outside of that book?
I would say I like this book, New Rules. No Rules, Rules. It's
No rules, rule.
yeah, it's a Netflix book. They
Okay.
wrote a book about Netflix, the CEO, I believe, co-founder and CEO, but it's written by Aaron Meyer from business school. Anyways, so this book is one of my favorite because basically it's always been a company of what I've dreamed of building, where there's no hierarchy, where everybody is able to provide feedback and so forth, and not be, I guess, so to speak, scared of making a comment, making a feedback, just because there's hierarchy in there. And I think this book talks a lot about how Netflix is formed, how it's a freedom to choose, freedom. Like the way how they're able to make this company is by hiring the most talented people in the space. And by hiring the most talented people in the space, you're able to just make a no rule exception for the company, where everybody takes ownership of what they do, because they're all pursuing their own excellence. And so it kind of reminds me of how people like Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki, they're not the brightest people in the world. They have a really, really smart team around them.
Right.
So that's what the book talks a little bit about as well.
Right on. All right. Well, I would definitely have to check that one out. No rules, rules. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wrote that one down. All right. Next question. What is your superpower?
My superpower, I think, is being persistent. I think that I learned that from my first job at that, is that I'm not the best salesperson in the world, but I'm super persistent. If you don't tell me you haven't told me you're not interested, I'm going to continue to call you.
No, I mean, honestly, I picked that up throughout your story, is the persistence, right? And even now, like, you need that. That is that is a superpower, because even through, like, let's say, difficult operations and difficult seasons, and say through the syndication deals, having the persistence through any of these deals is going to be absolute vital, right? So not only getting into the deals, but also maintaining them, continuing to plow through and see them to fruition, right? That's absolutely vital. So I think that is a superpower.
Mhm.
All right, next question. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career thus far?
If you're talking about real estate investing, I'm going to have to go back to the Purple Bible. So when I first bought my first property, I bought it all cash offer, short sale. Yeah, because I didn't want to use debt. My parents taught me debt is slavery, cash is freedom. That's how we were raised as Asians. So after I picked up the Purple Bible, I realized you got to use debt, tax benefits. Why wouldn't you use it to amplify your returns, et cetera, et cetera? So then I had to be on the edge of the coin. I see both sides. Being a good saver is the heads, and using debt is the tails. And if I know how to utilize the best of both worlds, it's going to help me achieve more things. And there's good debt and bad debt. You just have to figure out how to use good debt to your leverage.
Right. Oh, no, for sure. Yep. Not to be over leveraged, but definitely understanding how to use all of the tools that are available to you. Yeah, no, for sure. Yep. All right. Well, for the busy working professional who's trying to work towards financial freedom, what advice would you have for them?
Busy work professional, financial freedom. Well, it just depends on what you like doing. If you love what you do as a busy professional, you can look towards syndication, where it provides you passive income, where you don't have to deal with the tenant totally in trash, and continue to focus on being the busy professional you are.
Mhm.
But if real estate intrigues you, then you can start that as a side hustle, or start Amazon as a side hustle. Whatever intrigues you, start that as a side hustle, and then and let it play out. And eventually, if it does get big enough, then just replace your current job with the business you build. So there's so many ways, creative ways to do things nowadays. Resources are everywhere. You just have to go online to learn everything, really.
Yeah. Go online, listen to the podcast, and
Yeah.
check us out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jim. And then what's the best way for our listeners want to get in touch with you? They want to learn a little bit more what you got going on. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can pay a visit to my website, formosainvesting.com. And they can also check me out on any of the social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram at Formosa Investing.
Right. And then I know you host a local meetup there also, right?
Oh, yes. I also host a local meetup. It's called Investor to Investor. It's in Glendale, California. First Wednesday of every month, we have a guest speaker, a sponsor. Guest speaker, typically, we bring someone that has at least $100 million asset under management to speak for our audience. So it's a great event. Don't miss out on it.
Right on. So if you're there local and you want to connect with Jim there on the ground, meet some other either investors or learn from some people who are a little further down the road, make sure you're checking them out or reaching out. Jim, well, it's been great having you on the show. I really appreciate you coming on, being transparent, sharing your experience with us up to this point. We're excited to hear kind of the other end of the journey. So we'll have to follow up with you and see how things turn out.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Thanks so much, Jim. Have a great one. Aloha.
Omaha.
All right. What a great episode with Jim Lee with Formosa Invest. So yeah, Jim's been very transparent there with us and kind of giving us the realities of syndications and operations, especially the last couple of years with the way that interest rates have risen so much, learning to navigate bridge debt and operational expenses like increased property taxes, property insurance, right? Especially right now, huge deal. So learning how to do that, learning how to navigate through that. Jim is him and his team are doing that right now. So, and one of the things that he was kind of evident throughout his story was persistence, right? He's really pushed through challenging times within his own career to continue to press and to see success, right? And so that's something that's a huge takeaway for me and hopefully for you guys too. But you're not going to always necessarily see success right off the bat, but if you're persistent, if you stick with it, if you get through the failures, if you're able to learn from those and see how you can apply to your future, then inevitably you will see success. So Jim's definitely an inspirational tale in that regard. Well, guys, if you guys are interested in learning more about the deals that we've got going on and interested to connect with our team, go to tricityequity.com. You can learn more about our team, some prior deals that we've done. We're obviously always working on stuff. We've got stuff on the table right now. So we'd love to hear from you. You can schedule up a call with multiple members from our partnership to connect with other local like-minded investors here in Honolulu. Join our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and more. You can find us on meetup.com. We usually post all of our meetups on Bigger Pockets. We have meetups every month. Beautiful location. It's a great place to come out and network with other like-minded investors and people who are wanting to go bigger and better. So we usually have a great turnout. So make sure that you're checking us out there. We've got another event coming up here in just another couple of weeks. We're also got the next conference that's coming up. So that's a Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference. It's going to be the third conference that it's going to be putting on. So we'll make sure to include the link there on the show notes. So that's going to be next year, July 10th through the 13th, back here on Oahu. So the people that attended last year, or this year rather, it was over on the Big Island. We're going to be back on Oahu this year. So make sure that you're making plans to attend the next conference. Guys, make sure that you're sharing the show too. If you're depending on whatever channel that you're finding us on, whether that be Apple Podcast, Spotify, make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you get all the latest notifications for new episodes. We'd love a 5-star review from you, especially if you're finding value from these shows. That helps to encourage us to continue to do more. If you guys have suggestions on how we can get better or guests that you might like us to have on the show or topics to cover, we'd love that feedback too. We want to be able to make sure we're delivering the highest amount of value we can for you guys. So the only way we can do that is to get feedback from you. So, but we'd appreciate that. Appreciate you sharing the episode as well, so we can continue to get the message out for others to help and make an impact in their lives. Well, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Go ahead and sign off. Go out and take some action. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Get in, jump in, and get started investing and make a difference in your life and the life of your friends, your family, and others. All right, guys. Aloha. We'll talk to you soon.